I was gonna try and like cut them all together, but it was fully 1 in the morning and I was doing it on my phone in bed. So I was not gonna try and like splice all of those little clips into one video. I posted them in order. You could watch them all or you couldn't. That's your call.
Still, valiant effort.
Appreciate it. I also made the entire post on my cosplay Instagram account last night right after the show and drafted it so that I could post it this morning when I woke up and people would
Nice.
actually see it. Because if I posted it when I finished writing it at 2 a.m.,
Yeah, it
it
just
wasn't gonna get seen.
dies on the vine. Oh, wait, vine doesn't exist anymore. But I'm ting. Thank
Boo.
you. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week, folks. All right, so today I'm talking to my friend Kat, who I have known. I met her through Rocky Horror back in the day when she was attending college, and she does tattoo art out of Providence, Rhode Island now at Finio. It's an initialism of some kind. I'm sure I can get her to remind me. We're gonna hopefully unpack some stuff about being a like mechanically professional creative, where like you're just trying to execute tasks, keep a schedule, make clients happy. Is there anything you could think of to throw at her for questions that I might not?
Ooh, that's very good. I mean, in general, you're good at thinking of questions that I would ask. I would love to hear like what her perspective is on workshopping a design with a client part is
Hmm,
like, because that's something that I love and like really value when I'm approaching a new tattoo. And I would love to hear the tattoo artist's perspective on that process.
gotcha. I'll make sure we hit that. Gonna go grab my refill. I will talk to you in about 40 minutes.
Sounds good. I will hie me over to the corner.
Hey, Kat, how's it going?
Hey, how are you? It's been a minute.
Been a long minute. Although I've gotten a lot of good comments on my ink. People are
Excellent.
thrilled, especially with the beehive as the connector. That honeycomb pattern came out great.
I loved it. I love that you just let me do whatever I want sometimes.
I still love telling the story of the first one.
Oh my god, the stress. Like, it's fine. I only added a bunch of shit you didn't ask for. It's fine.
So, professional tattooing, how's that going?
Pretty good. I mean, I just immediately lied to you. It's slowly been like, and granted, it's not just me, thankfully, commiserate with all my coworkers, but like, we've all been feeling this recession that's been going on.
Hmm,
We work in the luxury business, so it's like nobody has luxury money, nobody even has freaking grocery money. So we've all been feeling it a little bit. I understand that, like, I need to charge enough to make a living, obviously.
yeah,
It's one of those things where people do just see it as like a little bit more of like a frivolous purchase, like like getting your nails done or like going on a shopping spree or like getting like a fancy purse or something. And I'm like, no,
yeah.
this is a permanent body modification. You're gonna be lowered into your grave with this on you. But that being said, it's not a few dollars. I understand that, so trying to find the balance. But it is, at the end of the day, a luxury. The only thing
Yes.
I have going for me is that at least you get to keep it forever. So it kind of cuts through the ennui of life that we're going
Right.
through right now. So at least I have that going.
It gives you those like personal connections where people comment on it, or like you get to show it off if it's in a secretive place as like a reveal. There's a lot more social
Right.
mechanics with a tattoo than a lot of other types of art. It's like, this is such a nerdy D&D thing, but they have thieves' cant where it's like that hidden language that you only know it if you know it.
Yeah.
So either you have to have it explained to you, or you get it immediately, and it immediately
Right.
like tells you if you're in the in crowd with this other person or not.
hmm I always joke, say like summertime is like damn my you tatted season because like all your tattoos are out, and it's just you will be spoken to by strangers. You
Oh
cannot
yeah.
avoid it.
How how are you countering it, coping with it? Not either of those?
I went from in 2023. I went from being booked about 10 to 12 weeks out at a time
Oh, I
to I
remember.
have appointments open next.
Ooh, that's cutting it close.
It's cutting it close. Makes me nervous. I mean, everyone likes to know that their bills are paid. Little things.
Yes.
It's consistent enough that like I can make it, but it's skin of my teeth now.
Yeah. No,
But,
and I'm guessing the seasonal, because I know with like I just had the commission burst from the holiday season.
right, I have the opposite. I get
Right.
no clients during the holiday season.
That makes sense. I get the commission burst, and then after the holidays now is when I have my dry period. I would guess it's the opposite with you, where like once people have secured like gift money,
Yep.
they might pop out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'll get like a few more. Tax season's usually where it really starts popping off, and it'll
Right.
go pretty steadily until summer. And then everyone would much rather, one, just be at the beach.
Yep.
So like taking a day off of beach time is like a hard ask, apparently. But it's also the 2 weeks out of the beach.
I was going to say, because they have
like,
to protect it from the UV and they can't go to the beach. Yeah.
that's a huge ask. So wintertime is usually pretty good. Very rarely do I have to turn clients away, and very rarely do I accept a deposit, book appointments, and then cancel those appointments and tell that client to go somewhere else. I can count on one hand. I want to make you feel like I have all the time in the world for you.
Yeah.
I don't, though.
Right.
Like when clients are like, they want to see their drawing ahead of time, they booked an appointment 3 months out, and then they're bugging me every 2 weeks. I had this happen with a client. I think he booked his appointment like 4 months out or something like that. And he kept bugging me, where's my drawing? Where's my drawing? Why haven't you done it yet? I did the math for him. I was like, because between the day you booked your appointment and the day of your appointment, I had 120 appointments. I had 120 other drawings to get to before yours.
That were going to go on skin before I even saw you. Yeah.
And I had to treat every single person the same way I'm treating you, where there's a lot of back and forth, and they're showing sketches and having to revise them. And it's like, a lot goes on in the background. The drawings don't come out of my butt. Because, like, at a minimum, every single piece that I tattoo gets drawn 3 times. There's me sketching it, there's me outlining it to make a stencil, and then there's me outlining it on your body. 3 times minimum. And that takes a lot of time. And people don't understand that. So sometimes, like, if I've shown you 4 iterations of a drawing, and you're like, it's still not right, and you can't give me reference photos of a closer style that you're looking for, or you can't articulate exactly what it is that's not right, you just want me to keep twiddling with it forever. Sometimes, very rarely, I'll have to be like, hey, I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel our appointment. I don't think I'm the right artist for you. Because I'm clearly not getting your vision. And unfortunately, like, I don't have any more time than I can allot to this. Either we reschedule it and like push it further out and it gives me more time to like nail your drawing down, or I'm just not the artist for you. And most people just pick I'm not the artist for you, and then, a week or so will pass, I'll give them a recommendation to somebody else, and then they'll come back for the deposit. And that's a whole different thing. And that's the business side of it that has to, inevitably come into the creative side.
Yeah. I love that you have that awareness where you can put the foot down and be like, that we're not moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
We should just not move in the same direction. But, like, how do you know, like, is there a number of interactions? Is it a countdown for you, or is it more of a vibe check?
It's more of a vibe check. Like, sometimes, I have to redrawn. Like, I'll do, like, the major drawing, and, like, very rarely will they be like, absolutely not. Most of the time, it's just like, yeah, but can we do it a little bit more like this? Or can the background flowers look a little bit more like this? It's minor tweaks. And, like, I'll do, 8 or 9 tweaks of that, but, like, I know I'm close, And then there's sometimes where it's like, no, not at all, completely redraw it, like 5 times, completely from scratch redraw it. And I just don't have, I have time for minor tweaks. I don't have time for like major, because I'm doing, like, you're drawing a week before.
Oh.
So it's like, there is like, I send you a drawing, and, I am the drawer of the tattoos, the doer of the tattoos, the consultation guy, scheduling guy. I am I'm my own assistant.
Right.
So it's like, I will send somebody a sketch, I will do a full day's worth of tattoos, and then I will come home, twiddle with your sketch some more, do my drawings for the next, few days, send that off, not get response from you till like end of the next day. And so it's like, it's not the most efficient way of working, unfortunately, when you're doing this back and forth, like the internet. But because like it's either like I send it to you and wait for your response, or I make you schedule a time to come in. You know, it's like there's nothing for it. It is
Right.
what it is. And it's like, you know, but the more time that takes, and the more changes I need to make, the closer and closer we get to your appointment date, and that's when it becomes, well, your appointment's tomorrow, and you still don't like your drawing, so you got two choices. I'll move your appointment out a little bit further, or we just call it quits.
Yeah.
And the thing about putting the appointment out too, learning where like my policies need to come from, learning where like I need to have firm boundaries with clients is, you know, one of them was like how many times I'll move out an appointment, for example. You know, so it's like I used to do it indefinitely, and now and then I think I moved it to like 3 times, and now it's if I have to move it more than once,
Yeah.
we're done.
No, that's
or you
sounds
need to
right.
pay a new deposit.
right.
Because like I don't charge a deposit as like a drawing fee. It's not an additional fee. It comes off the final price of the tattoo.
Yeah.
It secures the spot is like the biggest thing, because like if you guarantee you're going to come in at 5, you promise,
Right.
swear up and down. If you don't put a deposit down and someone comes in at like 455, I'm
Right.
taking them. Even though I know you're going to come in, it's the fact that you didn't pay a deposit. I can't risk it. So deposit's part of that, and deposit's also like if you no call no show me, or we're not seeing eye to eye, or the communication's not good, or like there's some issue and you need to move your appointment out. I was expecting to make money that day, and now I'm not.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
it's like
huge.
you're out $100, but I'm out $450, and I did a ton of work for you on top of it. Like a lot of people think it's like, well, I want my money back, and I'm like, well, no. I did work for you. And they're like, no, you didn't. You didn't do the tattoo for me. I'm like, I did 1,000 drawings for you. That's not nothing. I don't normally charge for that, but the deposit covers that in the event that like they
Right,
don't
it gives
come
you
in or
some
something. It gives
insulation
me
from.
something. Because I'm like, no, I did do work for you. There's a lot of work that goes into the background that people don't think about. They think it's just the time they spend in the studio with me. That's the only thing that I do for them. And I'm like,
So with all those extra like roles that you have to play, it can really only be done in this method where you are acting as your own like professional window. There's not a casual tattoo artist. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's somebody who has like a little at-home tattoo gun and they just fuck around. But the standard process is more what you're talking about, and there isn't really a not that is normalized.
I mean, like you can come in as a walk-in.
Well, yeah,
You know,
but you're
but, like-
still, but there's still like a conversation at the start and stuff, and obviously
Right.
it's a truncated version of the process, but you're still acting as your own like salesperson, your own agent, your own.
Oh
like,
yeah, any person
like-
who's just like, you know, a commission-based artist, like you do the art, you do the consultations, you are the money guy, the schedule guy, you do everything. You wear like 1,000 hats.
So how does
And-
that affect your burnout threshold?
It's really tough, like especially in the last year. Like I don't want to get like super into it, but you know, last year was like, you know, the worst year of my life. My sister died last year, so
Yeah.
and the recession got worse and worse throughout the year. So it's like just add that on, and the fact that you know I had to be my own assistant and manager and be the tattoo artist, it was a little too much for me, and a lot of stuff fell by the wayside. You know, sometimes it's hard for me to like maintain like a purely like professional boundary, because that's just weird to me. Like I'm spending several hours hurting you and then asking for money at the end of it. Thankfully my clients are really understanding, but like in general it's definitely difficult. I have to be very regimented, I have to be very strict with myself, and I have to like maintain routines even if I don't want to. And that is really, really difficult. And I really struggled with it. And I fell into bad routines, like ignoring texts for days and weeks. And, you know, and telling myself, it's like, oh, people will understand. And they do for a little bit.
Does that add to or lighten the burnout, or does it just change what kind of burnout?
It changes the type of burnout. Like on the one hand, like if I do, it's like saving future me extra steps. It's like no matter what, I have to do these steps. It's just when I do them.
The number of times in my day that I make a decision based on what future Griffin will have to cope with.
I tell myself, oh, I'm like,
Huge.
future Griffin's gonna be pissed that I did this. But it doesn't change the fact that I have to do these things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I ask the questions now or ask the questions later. But, you know, if I don't, like when I book an appointment, there's like a description box in the calendar, and that's where I write down all of my notes. I write down how much I quoted them. I write down whether or not they paid a deposit, you know. So it's like, if I don't do any of that, now I have to go scrolling through texts, and I have to go scrolling through emails, and I have to dig it up. And like this year, I have to like be firm about like I have a new policy where I'm like, I will not be accepting DMs anymore. Like, I need you to text me or email me. Like,
Gotcha.
Because it was too many apps. It was
right,
like,
trying to track down information in multiple places.
yeah, was it on TikTok? Was it on Instagram? Was it on Facebook? Like, now I have to go digging. It takes longer than if I just done it in the moment.
I have the same glitch, and on my website, I finally put in like a direct form where I'm like, yep, if you want a commission, go right there. That'll at least give me like a locked framework, and then we can have the conversation there.
Yes. Last year, I lost a lot of money just because cancellations obviously lost money. But right. I lost even more money from that because I just was not good about sending people deposit links. Because, like, I use Square as a payment portal, and Square has an invoice app. And so, like, you can send people digital links to put in their card information so I can take a deposit. I just wasn't doing that. You can skip steps in the moment, but you suffer later. Maybe it's just, you know, because I work with so many tattoo artists specifically, but like not a single one of us is neurotypical. So I feel like we all have like the same neuro pathways and like idiosyncrasies. A lot of time. Well, I don't want to generalize, but
it's one of those things like, so with my background, my educational background being towards forensic psychology, the idea of neurotypical versus neurodivergent is so...
It's apparently relatively new.
It's fairly new, but it's also very... Creatives have to function in a certain way, and I think because we're non-conforming in our thought process, you can't get a new idea and go, oh, that's interesting, and play with it when you're trying to get shit done.
Right.
Where if your entire job is trying to explore and play, you're in open mode all the time.
All the time.
Because you're not traveling in a straight line like everyone else.
And plus, you know, we've created a society where we're trying to build people, we're trying to build little factory workers, right? Like, you know, the Department of Education built the entirety of the school system to train kids to work in factories, and then we just never updated it, you know? So it's like,
they updated
creative
it
kids...
once, when they started doing math and English to make middle managers.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, the standard, you know, education that every kid gets, especially if you're a creative kid, like, it's not designed in a way that you learn. And I wonder if it's almost like we break our own brains to try to conform to that like very read books, write papers kind of like learning that like kids just don't, or like artistic kids or creative kids doesn't vibe with them. That's not how they think, that's not how they learn. And it's almost wondering, you know, do we create like neurodivergent kids because we just don't cater to their needs?
Well, they've done a lot of research into how creativity works. But basically, it's just how you were raised, like what kind of environment you were in, and what your peer group was like at the time.
Right.
School systems are playing catch up to try to break that once it's kind of been established.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was funny just watching like all of my coworkers be the exact same way as me. And I'm, as far as I know, I'm the only one in my like studio who is in therapy. So like, oh God. So I'll like give everyone like free tips and tricks that like my therapist teaches me.
I love that.
I've been told I got ADHDs. I got 80 of them.
Secondhand therapy is almost as good. Free therapy tips on the curb. First person to pick it up gets them.
Right? Because like, you know, me and my therapist work on like just behavioral stuff because like ADHD is a mental thing, but it's just like there's no fixing it. Your brain is wired, and I need to figure out where the wires cross illegally and figure out where do you reach those crossroads and how can we work around it? And how do we turn that into a habit, which as an ADHD person, you don't create habits normally.
Right. No.
And so being a creative, having habits, disgusting.
Well, it's interesting the number of people I know who where they fall into the divide between having a like stable scheduled process versus like nope, it just hits me and I go on a 3-week dive and then I resurface and I have no idea what happened.
Oh yeah. And it's weird being like so rigidly structured, which is like not typical being creative, because I feel like that's almost just like a dedicated recipe for burnout. Because like those two things fight each other.
When working on projects where there's a lot of deadline, a lot of collaboration, there is a closed mode function that you kind of have to exist in, obviously.
Right.
But there's like weird pitfalls that you can avoid. But the most important thing is to make sure that you have structured open mode time where you're like, I have this 3-hour period where I'm just going to like turn off my phone, know that nobody's going to interrupt me, and I'm going to sit here and play with the ideas, or I'm going to sit with a couple of people and unpack some stuff and just like brainstorm and do all that. But then when we leave that room, we're in execution mode, and if a better idea shows up and we're already committed to the first one, we're not deviating. We hopefully get to use that later, but like, don't fuck around.
Right. Like, so many of my coworkers will do, you know, it's like, I'll do my drawing the day before, or like the day of 5 time, and, you know, like, consultations a million years ago, and, you know, just kind of like seat of your pants, and I just, and, you know, the appointment takes however long it takes, and I'll do it, like, start to finish, and I'm just not like that. And
no.
So, like, I do my drawings ahead of time, or, you know, I like meticulously schedule everything. Like, if it's not in my calendar, it's dead to me. You know, it's like I can't keep that many thoughts in my brain at once. What am I, a gymnast? What am I, a hero?
I have a similar thing because I can't think in images and I can't think in words. I have to have processes. I have to have records. My memory is unreliable on the spot. Like, if you say something and it's familiar, I'll remember it. But if you're like, hey, did I ever tell you about this? I'm like the familiarity will trigger, but I can't summon it.
That's why, like, I don't take phone calls.
Ah, yes.
Which a lot of people are just like, you're a millennial, doesn't want to take phone calls. And I'm like, no.
I want a paper trail.
I want a paper trail. Like, I either want you to text me or email me or schedule a time to come in. Because if you just call me out of the blue, like, you're bamboozling me. Like, I might not be in front of my tablet where I can take notes. I might not have paper near me where I can take notes. So, like, if I don't have something to refer back to, I'm not going to remember everything. So you calling me out of the blue is not, like, scheduled time where I know that I can dedicate to you. So I don't take phone calls. I don't got the brain for that. It's knowing my shortcomings and, like, you know, the way I works for me, and it doesn't work for everybody, and that's totally fine. But I like the way I work. But, you know, I've lowered my rates, which kind of sucks. Some money's better than no money.
Ugh. Negotiating with yourself as an artist, it's painful, it's tricky.
It sucks, because, like, at first I raised my rates to account for, like, higher cost of living, right? Wasn't as high as some other people, but I wasn't as low as some other people. And another factor of it was, like, I'm not new to the industry now either. So, like, I paid my dues, like, I've made it this far, charge a little bit more now. Like, I was still getting the same number of consultations, I just wasn't getting as many bookings. And I was like, because, you know, people would hear the price and they'd freak out. You know, I had to have, like, a hard conversation with myself being like, I'm going to lower my rates, and it's not because I'm not worth a higher rate, and it's not because the higher rate that I'm asking for is too much. Like, people are happy to pay it. People just can't pay it.
Yeah. No,
I'm not the only one suffering from higher costs of living, and I am allowed to raise my wages. Almost everybody else can't. So I was like, all right, it has nothing to do with, like, skill level or, like, what I deserve. It has everything to do with the economy and shit that's out of my control. So I lowered my rates, and all of a sudden bookings were a little bit better. So gotta do what you gotta do.
Then you're playing chicken with your own money.
Exactly. And I have to worry about, like, if I start a huge project, like, if I outline a whole thing, you know, they'll pay for that. And then they'll just go somewhere else cheaper to get it finished.
Yeah.
So someone else is getting, like, the benefit of having a really solid foundation. Because, you know, I've always said, like, in terms of tattooing, like, I would rather have a really solid outline and garbage shading than like really good shading with a garbage outline. Like, one just looks way better than the other, you know? So it's like, I've done all the hard work, and, like, I also, like, I designed it, I made sure everything flowed, like, I made sure, you know, like, the structure of the piece looked a certain way, you know, I really worked hard on it, placing the stencils, and, you know, the outline time, you know, just, like, the grind part that no one really likes.
Right.
I did that, and then someone else gets to do the fun part for cheap. That sucks.
It does.
That sucks a lot.
No, that's some Merc bullshit, but I get how it happens. But no, that is the hard work, because you are, like, okay, so this is one thing I want to unpack while I have you. So we both work as commission artists. Like, people come to us with a sometimes barely formed idea, sometimes a completely formed idea, and we have to figure out the interpretation without being able to see in their head and knowing what actually works well on paper or skin and try to get that connected at a level. And I have my tricks of how I've gotten around it, but like, you're obviously working more with iconography and like symbolism and different concepts than I am, where I can kind of get away with like, oh, I know which character you want, I get the energy you're looking for, and instead of, so I run into this with artists where they like will really interrogate the person and try to get every detail out and then try to deliver on that, and I find that far too stressful. It
is pretty stressful
because like, I tend to like, if I can't picture things in my mind. I know some people can. I don't. You can picture things in your head?
I can picture things in my mind, yeah.
Okay. I have some friends who are artists who can like picture very vividly. So they know exactly what they're doing before they even touch the paper. Yeah. I am kind of figuring it out on the way. So me trying to figure out what the person's seeing, almost an impossibility. So I now just start with what mood do you want the viewer to feel and what mood do you want the image to be? Like, could the character be in despair, but you want it to be hopeful for the viewer? Because you can do that with tricks. And then I can deliver on the emotion, and I get forgiven for not nailing what they saw in their head.
Right. Some clients, like, and I'm weird. I approach tattooing somewhat differently than a lot of my peers, than a lot of people in the industry. Like, I get a lot of flack. Ooh. But, you know, I find... Right. I show my clients drawings ahead of time. Can you imagine?
Wait, is that not standard?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It's very much like you get what you get and you don't get upset, usually. A lot of people get like pressured and bullied into getting tattoos that aren't 100% right, but they don't know how to talk to the artist, you know?
Yep.
And a lot of artists will also use the, you know, like, I'm the professional, I know what's good for you.
Oh, that's such
kind of mentality.
I see that on Ink Masters when I was watching that back in the day. Like, there's all that like weird ego control thing.
Yeah, there's a huge ego thing, and like I came at tattooing from like a different angle. I obviously had tattoos and liked tattoos and like liked alternative culture, but like alternative culture and like tattoo culture are like two different beasts. So like I was already part of like alternative culture, sure. But, you know, when I was in art school specifically, I was, you know, I really wanted to do like book illustration. And majorly I wanted to have like, you know, a desk job, you know, some kind of corporate, you know, 9 to 5. I could never work from home. Never. Like, I don't have the discipline. I fell asleep on the couch this morning after I woke up. Like, I could never. If there's no deadline, forget it. Like, you know, and I can't self-impose deadlines. I don't have to listen to me. There's no consequences. You know,
I understand that entire. I can always convince my boss that I don't need to finish it today.
And I would just do that forever and ever and ever. And also, like, you know, the idea of fighting a million other artists for the same commission stresses me out. So at least like having less people to fight with is amazing. And, you know, I work in an office. I work specific hours, you know, so at least like I kind of realized that the client artist relationship that I wanted and like the environment I wanted to work in, very conducive to tattooing. That's kind of how I came in at it. But like I also had all these habits and, you know, values, what ended up becoming values that were kind of ingrained in me from art school, where it's like you show thumbnails, you show sketches, you only move forward once things are approved, because otherwise it's a huge waste of time to have to make a million corrections when you've already made it so far through like the next stage. And I do like meticulously like follow like a regimen of how like, you know, I conduct my consultations, how I show sketches ahead of time, because like I hate making changes day of, because that eats into the tattoo time.
Yeah.
I book, and again, I'm weird about this too. I book 3-hour appointments usually. I'll make exceptions here or there, but for the most part, the longest I'm going to sit, especially for a long piece, is 3 hours. So it's like you're coming in every 2 weeks for 3-hour bursts to work on a large piece.
You're also ridiculously fast, though. Like your line confidence, like I think the first time you tattooed me, it was it may have been a little longer than 3 hours, maybe up to 4.5.
Like 4 or 5, yeah.
But you did my entire, the weird line work thing on my left forearm, and then the entire piece, color and all, end to end, in that one sitting. It was insane.
You know, a little bit of that is just experience, and a little bit of that is like new technology.
Cool.
But you know, so it's like if you making changes like cuts into your like 3 hour time slot, like that's less time than I can tattoo you, and I, to my own detriment half the time. I just don't believe in charging for work that I didn't do, but like most artists don't charge for the drawing.
Ah.
We charge for like needle to skin time, so it's like that's just kind of rolled into it.
Yep.
So it's like if I'm making changes, you know, it doesn't occur to me to really like charge for that time. A lot of times, like if I have to place like a million stencils or if I have to draw on you, I usually don't charge for that time, which is weird. I probably should.
It does seem like it should be part of the structure, but I get it, because I also, like, when people hire me to do an illustration, I'm not charging them for like the 8 thumbnails that I'm doing just for my own edification.
Right.
I just charge for the end result and know how long it should take me, and if I take more time, I've made my own problem. But then if I show it to them and I need to make edits, then I'm like, oh, I've shot myself twice.
Right. If you want me to make 8 changes, tell me all 8 of them at once. Don't make me draw it 8 times. That drives me fucking nuts.
I usually only run into that type of stuff when I do a lot of D&D characters the past few years. So with those, I understand it. Like there is specific things that they
the way they want it.
Yeah, but like, thank God most of the time, because again I'm working off that vibe structure more so, I can get away with a lot more wiggle room.
So like very rarely do I find a client where it's like I'll do a drawing and they'll be like, no, not even close, and I'll be like, oh, okay. And you know, I'll do like a second drawing and they're like, oh. You know, they're worried about hurting my feelings, so they're not really like being firm about like, I need you to change this. And you know, I'll get to a point with them where I'm like, listen, I know you see something very clearly in your head. Sometimes, usually with those clients, like by like the 3rd or 4th time, it's usually like the client doesn't know how to articulate what it is that they see.
Yeah.
Which I try to forgive people. You find this a lot in tattoo culture too, where it's like artists will get really annoyed with their clients for not knowing the process or not knowing how to articulate themselves. And I'm like, why would they, on a everyday basis, need to know something that's not their job?
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing, and it's a learning curve.
On the one hand, like, you know, I love being in the, you know, creative business because, like, they're coming to me because they can't do it themselves. But if anyone ever gives me attitude, I'm providing them with a service, and, you know, we've taught a whole generation of Karens that, like, you can treat service workers like they're your servants. So, you know, it's kind of nice to be able to clap back with a, then do it yourself. And I'm like, whoa, and you're like, all right, then be nice to me.
I don't know when it came back into the zeitgeist, but for years I had been aware of the fact that that term, the customer's always right, was an incomplete statement. The original concept that they've truncated for the purposes of weaponization was the customer is always right in matters of taste, which only means that they will buy what they like and you can't tell them they're wrong. That's what that means. Then they cut it down.
I love incomplete quotes. Like my favorite is like when people get the blood is thicker than water. They sit there being like family over everything.
Right.
And the full quote is blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb, which means the exact opposite.
Right.
And that kills me. And I want to say it so bad, but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, one, this person has to live with this tattoo forever. And two, you know, if I say something, they're going to feel foolish. The artist is going to feel foolish. You know, it's like, I don't want to undermine the client or the artist doing it. So, and they have to live with it forever. So you have to just like, oh, that's nice.
And that is one of those ones where, like, it is a well-meaning edit that has recolloquialized. So, like, I get that one a little bit better. It's not being weaponized against people in the same way. But when it's weaponized against people, I will step in the way of that bullet and be like, no, that's not how that works.
You know, the one I usually step in with, it's funny because, like, we joke, and we're usually right, but, you know, there's, like, certain types of, like, clients, you can tell they're toxic as a person from, like, a mile away because of the, based on the tattoos that they get.
Oh.
Like, if someone's getting loyalty tattooed, like, gigantic on their person somewhere.
Yeah. Nope. No.
Because they don't mean loyalty. They mean they are demanding obedience.
I was gonna, yeah, that's exactly. It's
and little things
good.
like that. And it's like, oh, okay. Or like when you get couples who are getting like, her king, his queen. I was like,
Oh,
okay, sure.
do you in those cases do you even tiptoe by asking whose idea it was out of the two of them?
Because it's one of those things where it's like, is this a bad idea? Absolutely. But if it is a bad idea, it's 2 guaranteed tattoos. The tattoo itself and the cover-up.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you get girls, sometimes guys, but usually girls who are like, oh, I want my boyfriend's name, but where can I put it where it's easily hidden? And I'm like, let me take you one step further. Not only will I put it somewhere easily hidden, let's do it in red.
So when we need to cover it up
later. Done.
Oh, that is so good. Like I want to do the gesture, but I want the escape route already planned. Oh,
although
that.
Sometimes for like cover-ups, part of my payment is I do demand the story.
Ooh.
Why did you, especially if, like sometimes if it's just, like an image of something and it's like they just want it covered for whatever reason, I don't usually, if there's like words or lyrics or if it's clearly a matching tattoo or if it's a name, I want the story. TMI does not mean too much information. It means tell me immediately. I'm so nosy. It's a problem.
No, but I love that. I will put the marks on you, but you have to tell me the tale.
You have to tell me. Or like, your bartender, your hairdresser, your tattoo artist, they are also your therapist.
And you're just taking these stories and like, yep,
yeah,
I'm going to translate it to art.
You need to know.
Now it's in my head.
Now it's in my brain. And also, like, I really focus on, like, making sure that the way I approach tattooing, which is not the way most people do, is, like, collaborative.
Yeah.
I don't want to see my clients as, like, a nameless, faceless canvas. Like, that was, like, one of my biggest pet peeves on, like, the Ink Master show. They're like, look, introduce you to your canvas. I'm like, they're people.
Yeah.
They have, like, thoughts and ideas, and, they want to, like, to me, like, having tattoos is like being able to wear your favorite outfit every single day.
Yeah.
Like, it's more than just, like, it is the artwork, obviously, but it's also, like, it says something about you, and, it's personal. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's goofy. But, like, that still says something about you at the end of the day, though. So it's
right.
like, I don't like the idea of, like, you get what you get and you don't get upset, It's like, no, they're going to wear this forever. This should be very collaborative, and I don't, like, obviously sometimes I'll just be like, no, I don't do that style, or
right.
I'm like, if you don't let me do this, then why did you come to me in the first place? Like, you could have asked someone else.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll assert, like, my own style here or there, but, like, for the most part, I'm like, no, this should be collaborative. Like, people cut the client out of the process, and I'm like, without the client, you got nothing. So
this is interesting because I don't run into this as often, but, like, I feel like this is a lot easier when I get a commission. Because if someone comes to me and they're asking for something that is clearly out of my wheelhouse, I'll be like, look, this is the style of the art that you can see.
Right.
This is how it's going to look in the way you're describing. It's not like if you're saying you want it to be like a pop art thing, that's not really, it's still going to
show me on my, like, Instagram where you saw that.
Yeah, and if they can't, I'm like, I can refer you to somebody who I know does that style, but, like, I'm the wrong pick, and it's a lot easier of a distinction where I can just do that, where I feel like with tattoos, they do expect you to be almost, this is going to be, this is not insulting, I think this is the viewer end issue, but I think they're treating this like how tech people now treat AI, where, like, if I give you the prompt, you will spit out things until I like what I like.
Yep.
And it drives me nuts.
Yep. At the end of the day, like, yes, I do want to do the best I can for you. I want to make something you're going to be happy with that I'm also happy with. I'm very big about, like, if we're not both happy with this, like, I'm not doing it. But, people come to me, like, oh, I want you to do a portrait. I'm like, I don't do portraits. I do animal portraits, but I don't do people portraits. I don't do people. I'll do cartoon characters. I'll do, like, semi-realistic people. It'll always be stylized. I don't do photorealism. I describe my style as, like, semi-realism, where it's like it's not quite full photorealism. There's black outlines, but it's not like cartoon either.
No,
like,
you have that, like,
textures.
The figurative framing, but you have that, like, illustrative line work that really, like, anchors it all.
Exactly. So it's like, I very much like to live in the semi-realistic place. Sometimes I'll do, like, no outline flowers or something like that, but they're still very stylized and, They're not photorealistic. You know, the color gives me away every time because I just don't know how to not fully saturate something.
Yeah.
I love bright colors. One of my coworkers is like the sweetest being I've ever seen, and he really wants to like make it as like an anime tattooer. And you know, he's still in his apprenticeship, and anime is super fun. It's one of my favorite styles to do, just because it's super high color. It's a lot of like movement, and like there's a lot of emotion there. And you know, it's just like it's fun color, it's fun line weights, it's you know fun designs. And so he's been asking me to do a bunch of his favorite anime characters as part of like to have cool tattoos and also to like, you know, learn from these. So that's really fun. So we get to do, I'm doing Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
Love that.
My boy. Love of my life. I'm going to really try this next year to like do a lot more anime tattoos. And I've been like hopelessly obsessed with like Has-Been Hotel. It's got me in like a chokehold.
Oh my God. So good. Did you ever watch Horrible Boss?
Hell yeah, I did.
Nice.
So I'm hoping I can do some more like fun pieces like that. Even if I have to do them at a discount, I just wanna put them on my Instagram and try to like rep the hell out of them and see if I can get more. Because I try to like cater my Instagram to like what I want to do more of.
Yeah.
To get people
Honestly,
to come
that's
in.
what every artist should only be posting stuff that they want to do more of. Like, I get that keeping track of all your stuff is a thing, but it's not clear to the customer when you're like doing things that, like when I do a commission that I am not as into, but like I know I can execute, but like especially for holiday commissions, sometimes it's like, oh, somebody wants this. It's not my normal thing, but I can execute it, so I will. I don't put it on my Instagram.
Right. I don't put every single tattoo I do. Absolutely not. But sometimes there's tattoos I don't want to do more of.
Yeah.
Or a lot of times it's not finished. I don't want to put unfinished work either.
Also that.
Yeah.
And you're working with this person at Fineo?
Yep.
Neat.
Failure is not an option.
I can't believe I did not know that was an initialism or an anagram.
Anagram, I believe.
Yeah, if it's a word, it's an anagram. There we go.
Yeah, if it's pronounceable, it's an anagram.
There we go.
But I didn't either. When I first got the job, I was like, I don't know how to pronounce this, and I'm not saying it unless someone else says it. And so I heard it pronounced as Fineo, and I was like, fantastic. After like a few weeks, and I was like, wonderful.
It makes sense. Like, I definitely had said it as Fineo before, but like knowing now that it's a failure is not an option, that A is accented for the obvious reason.
Yeah. Or like I heard Finale a lot, but like I think we have a sign in the shop that says like really tiny on the bottom, like failure is not an option. I was like, oh!
It's got. Do you remember that T-shirt brand No Fear that had like the little eyes and it was just It feels like that energy.
Yeah. We're like, that's so clever.
And your Instagram is still Kitty-Rin?
Kitty-Rin, yep.
I never know how to pronounce it. How do you spell that?
Kittierne. It's like Catherine, but like kitty instead of cat.
Yeah.
I thought it was so clever when I came up with it in like middle school.
I love when you get it right on the first try that early. Especially nowadays where there's so much like competition for good names.
Right? Nobody better take it. No one ever takes it. And it's been like a nickname since middle school, but I've been using it for everything for so long that it's just like
I've been very lucky with Shaded Areas. I've gotten no real competition, and with Griffin S, I've got no competition. So it's been very nice.
Well, a lot of people were asking because I'm getting married at the end of the year. I was like, "Are you going to change your name?" I'm like, no.
I forgot about that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's that prep going?
It's going. We just booked a DJ, so we're getting there. We have like one more taste testing for catering, and then we're pretty much done with like all the major vendors. And then I just need to like start. And of course, we're poor and thrifty and creative, so we're like DIYing like most of the decor, and I'm like DIYing like half of my dress. So that has to be the next thing that I need to get going on because 9 months will go so fast.
Well, I have tons of connections in this realm, so if you end up hitting any weird blind spots, let me know, and I'll put you in touch with someone who can help.
Sounds great. I love that. Well, thank you.
I'll let you get back to your day. You can go take a new nap on your couch.
I probably will, honestly. It's the heated blanket stays on for 10 hours, so she's still toasty.
Sheets in with the cold right now. Like the second I get in bed, I'm like, and we're done.
And nap time.
But thank you for chatting with me. You too.
Always good to see you, my love.
Well, that was a lot more of a deep dive than I expected, but it was the tangents were fun.
That sounds nice. I couldn't hear that much of it, but it looked interesting. I'm excited to hear what you talked about.
Well, before we dive into any like topics, I feel like you have tattoos, and I know friends of mine who have gotten them for Lesley. I know people who take it very seriously. How have you interacted with this process?
I love tattoos. I have known that I wanted them since I was like 13, and I spent the 5 years before I could legally get them planning.
Nice.
I've got 8 at this point.
I think I've seen 2.
I think you've seen more than 2. At the very least, you've seen pictures of them.
I vaguely remember a picture of a sternum one. Or
Yeah, I
understernum?
have slightly under sternum,
Gotcha.
and the rest are all on my leg.
Gotcha.
To return to the question you asked me,
Yes.
I love art, and I love having art with me all the time. So, like, some of my tattoos really don't have that much meaning, but some of them mean more than others. And the tattoo that I've been planning is going to be a matching one with my sister. We
Oh.
have a bunch of our dad's old, like, architectural drawings, and there's a couple designs for, like, wrought iron fences that he did.
Oh.
So we're both gonna get the fence just like as a band around our arms.
That's very cool.
I'm very excited about it, and it's gonna be her first tattoo, so I've very much placed it like, okay, we do this when you're ready, you get to pick the artist, you get to pick the circumstance.
Nice.
I am okay with whatever. And that's gonna go very well with my biggest plan, a set of New York City fire escapes down my ribs on the side, because I'm proud of my hometown. What can I say? And also,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's gonna look sick.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have a notes app full of ideas and
my
like
God.
plans,
Of course you do.
of course I do. I'm me. I've had it since before I could legally get tattoos. But even if I didn't have this list of plans, I think I would still want to get something else just because it's a physical sensation unlike anything else, and it's very grounding for me.
Ooh.
Is like altering my body as a way to make sure I stay in it.
Interesting. That I can see that. Wow, I have a very different relationship with my ink than you do. When I went to Kat to get the left arm done, she very kindly pointed out it was going to be like $30 worth of actual ink that was going to cost $150 due to time and prep and stuff. And she's like, you might as well get like something else. I'm like, well, I don't really have any. I don't know. I didn't have a drive to like have a lot of ink. You know, how about this then? I'll give you a list of a couple of things that I associate with, and I was like, oh, I'm going to show up for the thing on my left arm, and whatever you've done, just put it on my right arm. And she's like, okay, but I'm going to show it to you first. I'm like, no, I'm not going to look at it. So it was purely just trust falling into her artwork and being like, look, if you're going to put something here, if I'm part of the process, I'm not going to be helpful. I'm going to have like, my brain's much better at spotting things that are, I'm sure you've noticed, I'm not very solution oriented in the moment. I usually have to brew and unpack before I can see solutions, but in the moment I can spot problems. And I knew that would be unhelpful for the conversation. So I was just like, no, just put it on me, and I'm going to trust that it's going to be beautiful, and that's all that matters. She was going to put it on me. She's like, can you please just like, I've done the sketch on your arm. Can you look at it? I'm like, nope. And I just looked left for 4 hours until she finished.
Yeah. I don't think I could ever do that. I don't even like the thought of doing those, like, put a nickel in the thing and, like, get whatever tattoo comes out of the gumball machine.
Wait,
I can't.
they do
I
that?
don't like that. Yeah. No, so
Oh.
many tattoo places do that with, like, their flash designs, and there's tiers for how much they cost and stuff like that.
Interesting.
They're great for other people.
Yeah.
I could never, because like if I hate it, it's gonna be upsetting. And
Right?
it's entirely possible that I hate it.
Yeah.
So I really like working with an artist to figure out what I want. For my sternum, I had an idea and I just took a pen and like drew on my own body
Oh,
and
gotcha.
took like pictures of that and sent it to her, and also had like a long conversation with Andrea about what I was looking for, my general style, like how many tattoos I had before and stuff like that. And she was fantastic the entire time. Like was very good about checking in if I needed breaks and stuff. So it ended up taking about 2 hours. And a couple of weeks ago, I was like going back through my camera roll and I found the original pictures I had sent and the nice pictures she had taken of the piece right after it was done.
Nice.
And I put them side by side, and it was like, oh, she did exactly what I drew, just in an incredibly beautiful, like, well rendered style, as
I
opposed to
love
my
that.
very messy, like, pen on my abs drawing. It's great. And similarly to you, I trust that the artist knows best. So I love talking with an artist and figuring out, like, I have this idea. How can we make this something that both of us feel good about? And honestly, that's been the biggest reason why I don't have more yet, is because I know that talking to an artist and like doing that in-depth process ain't cheap. I want to pay them what they're worth. And like the tattoos that I most deeply want at the moment, aside from the solid plans that I've had for years, are like, I want a 20-sided tavern tattoo, actually. At some point.
Fantastic.
I know better than to get it like right after the show closes.
Yeah.
Because that's an emotional decision. I'm not doing that. I know better. But like there's a line in the DM's closing monologue that says, "Tomorrow is unwritten and you are its truest author."
Yeah.
And that line has hit me like a ton of bricks every time I've seen the show. Like the first time I saw it with our mutual friend, and I heard that line and I nearly started crying, which like I don't cry. But it really affected me, and it has continued to resonate with me every time I've seen the show. So in a few months time, if I have the means and I still have the desire, I want to work with a tattoo artist to figure out how can I turn this into a piece of art, because I don't want all of my tattoos to just be text.
I like that you're mindful about these things. We did hit a couple of pins on running a small business like this where you're offering a creative service is too many hats. There's the trying to grow your price tag with the economy, but then like trying to be ethical about like not overcharging people who are also being affected by the same economy. It is weird. I have some friends who are very strict about this. Like they raise their rates for things 10% every year, like clockwork, and they just made it a norm and people expect it, and it's what it is. And Pat hit a very specific point of she had to down her pricing and negotiate with herself essentially, because she had the empathy informing her realization that while the economy was getting inflated for herself and she needed to make her own ends meet, so does everyone else. So they can afford these luxury purchases like tattoos less. And some money is better than no money, and more happy people is better than less happy people. But she did really put a big highlight on the idea. I think she phrased it as getting to wear your favorite outfit every day. And she is absolutely in love with putting ink on people with that as the core concept of what she's offering.
I really love that. Because most of mine are like covered by my clothing, I sometimes forget they're there. Like I forget that I have a shoulder tattoo constantly, and it's like, what's that mark on my? Oh, right.
Yep.
But there are others that like the week I got to take the second skin off of my sternum piece, I was like, oh fuck, I have to get more crop tops. So like in the year and a half ish since I got that tattoo, I have worn way more crop tops than I ever did before, because now there's something there that I want to show off that I love. Like, and it's also like a conversation starter sometimes.
Yeah,
If
we
I'm
mentioned
hanging
that.
out in like the park or something, or if I'm at a party, and my tattoo is visible, it's an automatic thing that somebody can like point out and talk to. This isn't even my story. I was at a party last year, um, and I was there with the person I was dating, and it was a theater party, so I had brought them, and they did not know most of the other people there. And I was chatting with my friend, and they noticed that the person sitting next to them had a tattoo that looked like it was by the same artist who did most of theirs. So they
Ah,
struck up a conversation. And as far as I don't talk to that person anymore. But as far as I know, they're still really good friends because
that's amazing.
they found this one similarity that spiraled into talking about tattoos, talking about D&D, talking about art design. And it was like, oh, okay, they're the same person in different fonts. So
That,
they got this wonderful
that's
friendship
such
out
a
of
good
it.
line. The same person, different. That's so good.
I did not make it up. I did not
No,
make
but I've
that
never
up.
heard it before, and I love it.
Oh, that's a thing. I did not make it up.
That is so good.
I do not get credit for it.
No, that's fine,
But
but
yeah,
I
it
thank you
is
for
a
the
good way
introduction.
to explain people.
Yeah,
Is
no,
like, yeah,
yeah.
you have a lot of similarities, but the way you present those traits differs. Some of you have serifs and not and stuff like that.
Tattoos as social lubricant is absolutely a thing I love about them. Actually, you'll get a kick out of this. When I was talking to Kat, I specifically said it's kind of like having, it's like a version of Thieves' Cant. Like, it is an unspoken language that if you know it, you know it. And if you don't, you don't. But, like, if you see recognized concepts on someone else's skin, you're like, oh, what's up?
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. I feel like also it's getting less so as tattoos become more mainstream and like
Mm,
being heavily tattooed is more normalized, which I'm very happy that that's happening. That
yeah.
should absolutely be the case. Um, but for a long time, and still to an extent, there's the subculture around it of like,
Yeah.
okay, if you have visible tattoos, that says something about you, and that can be added to the mental equation of what is this person wearing, what stance are they taking, what tone of voice are they using, and all fit together to be able to identify who is safe and not.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Shane Smith's stand-up comedy?
No, I have not.
He has a bunch of face and neck tattoos, and they are dramatic, but he has a lot of bits about how having those tattoos has affected his day-to-day life, and they are fantastic. And if anyone has the opportunity, they should check them out. I will share a link with you. But one of my favorite bits of his is he lived down the street from a 7-Eleven and going in all the time, multiple times for like Mountain Dew refills. And as he walks in, there's a new employee, but there's another employee with him. He's like, "Hey, it's Mountain Dew guy." And he goes, "Not face and neck tattoo guy?" Yeah, no, he drinks a lot of Mountain Dew, like so much. What are you not understanding about this?
Yeah, because at a certain point, they just become a part of you. They become very normal. And
Yeah,
if you see and interact with people a ton, you have other personality traits.
exactly. This was a good day today. I haven't talked to Kat in a while, and knowing that you and I both share very different perspectives on tattoos now, I just feel it stirring around in my head.
That's great. I love leaving a day or a conversation with nice things to think about. Sometimes you leave a conversation and it like sticks with you for a bad reason,
Mm,
but I really value when I can tell that just talking to somebody is making me better.
yeah. No, it's definitely going to be a little distracting while I try to go back to doing my big adult job later. But for now, happy thoughts.
Happy
But
thoughts. And then we'll fly away to Never Neverland.
am I scared of heights? That's a whole other thing. I will talk to
Okay.
you next time.
That sounds good. Yeah. I also cannot hear the phrase being your own boss without thinking of Riva from A Starstruck Odyssey. We're all running our own little pyramid schemes.
Yeah. When I've tried to do these types of projects or any type of like public facing project that's on a schedule, I'm really bad at maintaining that schedule. And having you part of this has, like, even though I don't think you'll hold it against me, I don't want to disappoint your energy and time by not meeting the schedules.
I mean, you're right. I would never be upset. I appreciate that. I like motivating people.
If you enjoyed this episode, we have plenty more, and you're encouraged to subscribe or follow. If you're curious, head to shadedareas.com for more information about the show and other projects related to us. If you're generous, head over to patreon.com/createartrepeat, where you can support the show. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay thoughtful, stay playful, and keep creating.